Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Here we are in the greater San Diego area, and I am Robin Swan, and I own a company called Firebird Touch Therapy, which has done a lot of things in the last 26 years. I incorporated and got my medical marijuana license and Compassionate Use 215 Act in 1996, and I blended my background in metaphysical ministries and structural integration therapies and created Firebird Touch Therapy. And part of what I've done my whole life of learning is work with the plant people, and one of the ones that's front and center right now, as we know, is our girl Mary Jane. And a lot of people have gone down for her in our collective history. In our last 100 years, many people have gone to jail in service of this plant. So I just wanted to say a shout out to those farmers who have put their life at risk, and those parents now who are putting their lives in danger and the opportunity to have their kids taken away from them by using a plant for medicine. That just isn't okay, and we don't need to be doing that. So the other thing that I noticed, having been in the cannabis industry for pretty much my entire adult life since I was 27 years old, is the amount of misinformation that's moving around right now. It's like we just figured out that there was cannabis on the planet, not like we've been having it since we've been around. So I decided to do these little broadcasts for all of you people who follow me who are interested in cannabis, because I just kind of want to clean up the conversation. There's nothing that I'm selling in this conversation. There's nothing that we're promoting here today except for knowledge, because knowledge is power. And the way to the revolution is through your mind. So no matter what anyone's ever told you, what you think about, you bring about. So how you view your life, how you view your health, that's how it is. And you have a right to be educated correctly. Now, I have my frenemy here, who I love dearly, because she's a nurse and she's allopathic in orientation, which means that she comes from a pharmaceutical medical background, whereas I come from a naturopathic herbal background. So we're talking about the same thing, but we approach it in very different ways. So this is my friend Elisabeth Mack. Say hello to the Firebird Touch Therapy family.
Hello, good to be here, and I'm honored to be your inaugural guest on your show.
I know, and you were with me on the radio too. We had such a good time, and you know, that was about two years ago. Yeah, so you've come a long way as a provider and a practitioner. And you've seen the landscape of cannabis medicine change, because back then we were just beginning to get started, and what are these things, and just discovering things like the endocannabinoid system and what that means. And it's not like we're just discovering it, but it's been around since always, right?
Well, since the mid-'60s, we were coining it the endocannabinoid system.
Right. Right, but it's been in our bodies since we've been
like
created.
600 million years.
Yeah, 600 million years. So,
right.
But here we are in 1967, 68. Raphael's like, hey, look what I found, this thing that feeds the nerve system. Oi, it's so amazing. We need to share with the world what is happening. What's his name?
Raphael Mechoulam.
Raphael Mechoulam. Then that's somebody that you should Google. If you're really interested in cannabis medicine, then Raphael Mechoulam is somebody who you should be checking out, because he's kind of like, you know, we give a lot of credit to Rick Simpson because he poured gasoline over cannabis and was able to extract it at a really high rate. But the real science behind it starts at the Technion in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, correct. And Raphael Mechoulam, there is a video that is made about his life called The Scientist. And it's all about his journey of discovering the endocannabinoid system and his initial foray into getting hashish from the government, along with money from the NIH.
Wow. Now, I went to college in Israel, and I had the hardest time finding weed, man. When I was there in the 80s, like nobody had it, and I was lucky. I was on a language learning Ulpan, and some guy from New York had somehow managed to bring a couple of pounds of flour in with him.
Wow.
Yeah, so crazy, right? And I was very much friendly with him because of that. But we would, you know, travel. We'd go on little trips around the country, me and my friends, and we'd find a lot of hash. And the way that that's what cannabis really breaks down to in Morocco and most of the Middle East, and where it's really been medicine is they compound it down to hashish because of the terpene value.
So do they cut the buds and then just let them dry and then they press them?
Yeah.
To make hashish?
Something like that. I guess there's a bunch of different ways to do it. And since we don't have a hashish maker on the show, and I don't make hash, I'm not going to jump into that. But I just wanted to say also that today is a very auspicious day because it is the Lunar New Year.
Happy New Year.
All of you out there who are celebrate. It is the year of the pig. So what does that mean? Oh, we get excited when we think about pigs, don't we? We just want to, everybody wants to squeal like
pigs
one,
are
right?
Cute.
Don't you just want someone to pull your tail and make you go, ooh, 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 yeah.
You know, I could have my tail pulled.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know, there's actually a bodywork technique where you like pull the coccyx and it drops the entire pelvic floor and it aligns the spine.
My chiropractor has never done that.
We get different pigs, but yeah, we get different pigs. But so the pig, I want to talk about the pig because it is the year of the pig, and we have all just been through so much with all these lunar transits, and you know, everybody. I think everyone I talk to people all the time, and everyone's going through something so crazy. And you know, the pigs are auspicious. They bring prosperity. They bring fun. They bring joy. So, and it's an earth pig.
And squeals and giggles.
Squeals and giggles. And because it's an earth pig, that means that it's a grounded pig. So all of you people who have been working really hard over the last couple years, you're going to start to see some of your rewards this year.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, so a lot of lightening up for all of us as a collective body of people. You excited about that?
I am.
Yeah,
I'm ready for a pig.
Yeah, so I just want to tell people who are listening the years that the pigs are born. 1947, 1959, 1971, 1983. I bet we know a lot of 1983 pigs that are in the cannabis industry. I have a feeling that there's a whole group of people who are making bubble hash who were born in 83 who are pigs. 1995 and 2007, and then here we are again. And 2007, so this is kind of auspicious. So in 2007, we really kind of kicked off this whole new conversation about cannabis. That's really when it kind of like, Rick came out and he, talked about extracting, and they put Run for the Cure up, and we all got to start to see that there were other ways to treat ourselves than chemotherapy, and we could do it with this thing that's been illegal forever, right?
Well, the funny thing is that traditional medicine still doesn't know.
Right, they don't even know what the endocannabinoid system is because it takes 10 years to get information into textbooks. So, you guys, let's talk about that right now. What is the endocannabinoid system? What is it? Do we need a slide? Should we have a slide? I think we have a slide. It's time for a slide. Is anyone listening to us? Hey, everyone. All right, cool. Thank you for your time.
All right,
we're going to cue a slide.
We're going to cue a slide, but
let's talk about what it is.
Endocannabinoid system.
Yeah.
Endo, we can just start with that.
Yeah.
Endo is endogenous.
Oh, endogenous.
Right? Endo, just like your endorphins, we have endocannabinoids. Why do we call them endocannabinoids?
This is us right here. Show with Robin and holistic
Next
clearing.
slide.
That's Elisabeth. She's holistic clearing. Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, this is the basis of the ECS.
This is the basics of the ECS, or the endocannabinoid system. And essentially, the endocannabinoid system was found because of the research into CBD and THC. These are components to the cannabis plant. And because they were investigating cannabis,
work, correct?
This is all
Raphael's work.
Everything is that we're going to be talking about today is
Raphael's
work, right?
Yeah. So I just want to pause at that moment because I want to say his name again, Raphael Schumann. He's still alive. Okay. We give a lot of credit to a man named Rick Simpson, and that's awesome because he showed us a way to do an extraction. But this man, Raphael Schumann, is the one who showed us the science, and it's taken from 1964, the year I was born. I came in with the ECS for sure. My whole purpose in life is cannabis. To now, to even be able to have this conversation, because as you know, we had the show with ESPN a couple years ago. We were not allowed to say things like cannabis.
Right.
Marijuana, CBD, we couldn't say anything, so it was pointless. So I'm really grateful, and I want you all to research this man.
Yeah. So go Google the endocannabinoid system and Raphael Mechoulam. But basically, when we break down this system, it was named the endocannabinoid system because he found the endogenous cannabinoids. Do you know why he called them cannabinoids?
No.
Because They were studying cannabis. Right?
Oh,
so they were
so they could have
studying
been called
cannabis.
anything. They could have been the endo,
right?
Lavender,
whatever they were studying.
Yeah,
exactly. But because he was studying cannabis, and
so
he was breaking down the molecules on what cannabis is really composed of, and he found the two major molecules, CBD and THC, and those are called cannabinoids. Because they're from the plant, they call them phytocannabinoids.
Right, so phyto means plant, just
Phyto
so you know.
means
Like
plant.
if you're ever wondering when they're like, what's a phytocannabinoid? It is a plant cannabinoid, right?
Right, and then, so in 1964, he isolated THC, broke down the molecular structure.
The first version of a distillate and an isolate. See how far it goes back, people. This is not new science.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And so basically, you know what he did? His wife made brownies. This is like the original brownies, right? And they put brownies out and everybody ate them. And people had different physiological reactions.
This is kind of like an LSD moment.
Yeah,
like with
so
Timothy
some
Leary.
people that ate the brownies, they were silly and laughing and thought everything was hysterical. Some people got really sleepy and sort of sedated. Some people didn't feel anything. Some people got hungry. And some people got paranoid. And he said, what could this be? You know, how does this work on we all ate the exact same thing, but we have different physiological reactions. So that's when he started to experiment more and found the receptors that THC goes to in the body. And at some point, because he said, obviously, we're not going to all have a different reaction if we're having the same thing unless we're interacting with that somehow in our own body. So he found the receptors, and the first one is called CB1, cannabinoid 1 receptor, largely in the brain, the central channel, responsible for all of your moods, your motor functions, your memory.
Right, so when your CB1 receptor is not firing, you're kind of a cranky little snot. And it's really hard for you to remember, and it's really hard to get motivated, and it's lots of symptoms of depression happen. And this is why we say that, you know, cannabinoids can help in the, well, we can't say that, in the experience of depression.
But low doses can tweak that and activate those receptors to fire again, and then you can feel better.
Right.
Right. And then CB2 is the other set of receptors, and those are largely in our immune system and our gut. So in our spleen and our white blood cells, there's so many, but they basically keep us healthy, the CB2 receptors, and everything firing properly. And then the year after...
So how does 1 and 2 work together? How do the CB1 and CB2 receptors work together?
They don't really work together. Well, they all work together to keep you healthy.
To keep our body healthy, right?
But you really have them all over your body. They're everywhere, right? And,
because they're feeding, let's talk about one of the things that this system does is it feeds the central nerve system.
Basically, the way I explain the ECS is it's the master regulator. So it doesn't matter whether it's the nervous system, the immune system, the endocrine system, all of those are sort of governed by the ECS. And all of those systems, nerve, immune, endocrine, they have their own functions, do their own thing, but all that fine-tuning and buffering, that's from the endocannabinoids, right? Right. The ones that we make endogenously.
Right, so we're making them in our system, and we're enhancing them by using things like cannabis or omega-3 oils.
Cannabis will stimulate them, but if we go to our second thing, there's LOX, which are the receptors, and there's keys, which are the cannabinoids. If we're not making enough of our own cannabinoids, when we supplement, we can get a little help from our phytocannabinoids.
Our phytocannabinoids, which also include not only limited to cannabis, right?
There's other ways.
Hemp seed is great, flaxseed, chia seed, walnuts, echinacea, eggs, sardines, anchovies, dark chocolate. So there's a lot of ways to, you know, people are like, we're all focused on just cannabis, but what we really need to be focusing on is this master regulator that you're talking about, because this is really what's making our whole system well.
Right, and there are things you can do too, not just intake, right?
Right.
So
the way that you behave.
The ways that you behave. So exercise is probably the #1 thing that you can do. The runner's high, they said used to be endorphins. They're not endorphins. The runner's high is actually endocannabinoids. When you
Which is awesome if you're right, exactly. And if you smoke a lot of weed and it releases from your fat system, oh my gosh, man, you are feeling good.
I don't know if I've done that. But if you run, you can get anandamide, which is our own endogenous cannabinoid.
Ooh, that's a big word, anandamide.
Ananda is Sanskrit for bliss.
Right.
And so Ananda...
it's Ananda.
Anandamide.
Anandamide.
Right? So
yeah.
Anandamide and 2-AG. Those are the endocannabinoids that we make, the keys that fit in those locks. So CB1, CB2, they respond to anandamide and 2-AG. And they're very, very plentiful. They're also made on demand. So if we go to the third little box, cell-to-cell signaling is controlled through on-demand balancing. And what this means is they're not all just sitting around in the bloodstream. They only get manufactured when they're needed. They perform a function in a microsecond, and then they're dissolved. So like that.
Right. So how do we trigger those? Just like we just trigger them through our autonomic nerve system?
Basically.
Yeah, so because we're so intelligently designed
We are.
that we really have to work hard to fuck ourselves up.
God made us a fail-safe system,
Right,
right?
and we have done our best to destroy it over the last
Yeah, but it's all about
years.
homeostasis.
Right.
Homeostasis is a big word. In medicine, it just means balance. So homeostasis is the goal of the whole endocannabinoid system. So all of this buffering and fine-tuning of your nerve cells, your immune cells, your endocrine cells, all of these functions, whether it's the gut or the brain, basically are regulated by balance. That is, when you think about a seesaw and you've got two people of equal weight, then things are kind of happy. You can get some momentum going,
and so
everything works.
I think that in balance, the key, there's a word I like to use for balance, and that's harmony. Like if we can harmonize our system, because there's no, like, balance creates this belief system that we're supposed to just be in the middle the entire time, and that's not what we are as human beings. You know, we have good days, we have bad days, we have great minutes, we have awful minutes, and so we're always in this flux, right? So this system, this master ECS system, helps kind of our body just go zzz. And the only reason why it's really about cannabis is because that was the body of knowledge that he was working with, was he was working with the phytocannabinoids of cannabis.
Yeah.
Had he been using grapes, it might have been the EGS.
The wino cannabis, yeah.
The wino cannabis, yeah, really. All you wine lovers, you know, there's those things too. So there's a whole bunch of ways, like terpenes are ways that stimulate the ECS, right?
That terpenes also stimulate the endocannabinoid system. So one of
let's stop with terpenes for a minute, because I just want to break everything down real simple, because like these are words that all of a sudden are buzzwords. Like, you know, asphalt is a terpene, all right? But the only terpenes that anybody ever talks about come from cannabis, right? But these lovely plastic plants, they have terpenes, right? They do, because
the real ones would.
No, these smell too. Well, anything that plastic has a smell,
that has an aroma,
has a terpene, right? So terpenes release the olfactory sense, right? And olfactory, when our olfactory sense is released, so much comes with it. Right. Our whole memory is triggered. So what happened to you when you were a little person that you don't remember, 3 years old, you don't remember it, but you smell that smell, all of a sudden that whole feeling, not even the memory, not the pictures of the memory, the feeling of that is released in your body, good or bad.
I have a fun memory of plants.
Oh, you do?
Boxwood hedges in Williamsburg, Virginia.
Did you jump in them or make a sandbox out of them? What did you do with them?
I bumped up into them, and I remember smelling the boxwood hedges. And, you know, it was amazing, because now every time I smell boxwood hedges, like in Balboa Park, I think about Williamsburg, Virginia.
Right. And
so you're right on the memory cue.
It's a very big memory cue. So part of the way that cannabis can help us with that, with the terpenes in it, is that it helps relax our mind and surface those secondary memories that are in our system, but kind of sitting in back. And as you get space in your brain, I like to think of cannabis as being able to give us space in our brain. Because, you know, you're a very intelligent person who's always on it like this, right?
I'm all mind.
You're all mind. You're just like, I am going to do it. I am going to fit it. ECS, these are locking key, you know, Look, I love this. Only my friend Elisabeth could put this fantastic chart together. You know, I love it. It's really... I hope that you guys are all like really, you know, taking some notes on this and paying attention.
I don't know if they can see it, But let's talk about what happens when you have a breakdown.
When
you have deficiencies.
Breakdown, like every day, like when you have like a trauma system, is that like
when you lose your homeostasis, when you lose your balance,
which happens for me every 30 seconds.
Yes, and there's always a zone. So like you know when you go and get your lab values, and you could be, let's just say potassium 3.5 to 5, right? There's a range, so it gives you that little buffer, right? But if you get out of that, it needs to be brought back down, right? So the on-demand signaling of the endocannabinoid system, and when we boost it with phytocannabinoids, it does the same thing because the phytocannabinoids mimic the endocannabinoids. And so when we go off, we can get supplemented with this so that we can bring ourselves back into balance.
Which is where something like CBD would be really helpful, because that's going to bring the body to that homeostasis by feeding those receptors, and kind of like, unlike an antidepressant, it's not a neuroblocker.
No, it's a neuroprotective.
It's a neuroprotective, which is very different than a neuroblocker. Do you guys understand that?
Let's talk about neuroprotection.
Yeah, let's talk about
neuroprotection.
Yeah, like that's my favorite thing.
So yeah, and that basically prevents nerve degeneration.
Right. Okay. So that means that what that means, I'm going to break down my very dear friend's intellect here. It means that the myelin sheath, what covers your nerves, begins to fray. And as it frays, your nerve endings are they're just like an electric cord. Okay, you don't want a live wire rolling around your house. You're going to start a fire. And if you do that, that live wire is going to burn out. So the same thing in your body, when your nerves fray, they burn out, and that's where we get disease from.
And they get bumped, they get injuries, they get toxins, they get deposits, they get all kinds of things. The things that pass through the blood-brain barrier can start to break down the brain, proteins, and that sort of thing.
Right.
And so this system, when you are supplementing with CBD, you're able to hold those together better and prevent that degeneration. And nerve degeneration leads to conditions like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and any kind of neurodegenerative disease.
Which is all disease is neurodegenerative, because once that nerve,
ALS.
yes, and once that nerve system is depleted, then that area is no longer getting pulse, blood, oxygen, and it begins to die within the body. And when something starts to die, its cells starts to transmutate and multiply, and that's the basis of cancer. So how do we avoid that? By our lifestyle,
right.
As much as we can by our lifestyle.
Live clean.
Right, and so a lot of times people are like, I really want to stimulate my ESC, but I get drug tested, and I don't live in a legal state. So it's super easy. The food list that we just said, we're going to put it in the feed later on, anything that's high in omega-3. So when I was doing some research on the ESC, it was talking about omega-6. We were just talking about it before, right? And how Americans are like 10 to 1 to 3 to 6 in the omegas. And the omega-6 is like really bad for us, actually. Right. And the ESC stimulates it. If that's something that cannabis stimulates, is omega-6. So if you're a big, chubby, meat-eating, human, and you're sucking down on you're smoking weed or you're using cannabis oil, I'm going to tell you, man, and I'd like to, I'm sure you all will have, who are that, will have noticed that things begin to change for you. You don't want to eat meat as often. You begin to start losing weight just organically and naturally, because as your body comes into stasis, when it comes into balance, homeostasis, you don't crave things like a pizza at midnight.
No, you start craving vegetables.
Right.
Something happened to me about 3 years ago when I began this journey, and I literally started to eat more fresh, whole foods. Something happened in my body. The more CBD I took, the healthier my diet became.
Right, and that was just natural.
It's just natural.
It's just natural. So that's one of the things, like, people will say, well, what can I expect if I use this CBD product? Now, not all CBD is created equally, okay? It's just not. So that's a whole nother show. We're not gonna go down that pathway right now. But, if you just wanna get some good omega-3s and 6s from a CBD product, go to Costco and buy hemp hearts. Eat them.
The hemp seed oil will give you nice omega-3s.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to spend some crazy multi-level marketing, full spectrum, whatnot, baloney, CO2 extracted, I'm going to kill myself right now and strangle you kind of product. All you got to do is go to Costco and buy hemp hearts. Super easy. They're $7.
It's simple.
Simple.
But they don't have CBD.
But
here's the thing. A lot of people think that the hemp parts is not, but the hemp oil is not going to have CBD in it
either. Right. So that's we're gonna seriously have to come back to that, because that's just a whole nother law, and we're only on we got two more. Yeah. We got two more to go.
So yeah, well, okay, the middle one. So when we have these deficiencies, so we talked about protecting your nerves, but we didn't talk about when things break down. Let's talk about that cancer cell, right?
Right.
So if you think about the switches in your body, all of our cells have these little switches, and they're receptors, and they need to be activated and stimulated to achieve balance on the inside of our cell. And some of these cells, they basically have a lock out there that really needs to have a key, but there's no key around. So the switches go the wrong way, and basically that cell can mutate then. So because it's lost its protection, and so cancer cells mutate, and basically they don't turn off. And so what we need to do is reprogram that off switch. In medicine, we call it apoptosis.
Right.
And so
apoptosis, get that? That's the death of the cancer cell. That's turning it off. That's what that means. And that's something that cannabis does, is it turns off the production of the cancer cell.
Yeah, and it could be cancer, it could be a gastrointestinal issue, it could be colitis, it could be anything like that. There are switches all over your body, and the endocannabinoid system buffers and protects everything, keeping the switches in the right way.
I like to think of it like this.
CBD.
This is your nerve system, and the endocannabinoid system is like that.
Right.
It sits on top of it. It's feeding the nerve system. It's protecting your nerve system.
Right.
And I like to share this with people, because a lot of people don't know about how we're created as human beings. But when the egg and the sperm come together and meet and decide to create life, the first thing that we are is a nerve system. That's the very first thing we are. We're a nerve cord. And out of our nerve cord grows our brain. So truly, we are a bundle of nerves, and we have more neurological connections than known stars in the galaxy. And our nerve system can like take a left turn or take a right turn. We can find a new set of neural pathways, and that's what this system helps us do.
Neurogenesis.
Neurogenesis.
I love create.
This is why I have her
nerves,
here, so
right?
she can say things like
and
neurogenesis.
Neuroplasticity, new learning, opening up your mind to new experiences and being able to process new information. And also because of that, we need to be able to forget some things too, so we can pare that down. Do you know that the endocannabinoid system has a little catchphrase?
Ooh.
Eat, sleep, relax, forget, and protect.
Ooh, let's say that again.
Eat, sleep, relax, forget, and protect.
So it's like the 5-finger healer. It's just like cannabis.
It helps you eat well.
Eat well, because it makes sure to eat. Relax.
Helps you relax and just settle down.
Be chill.
Sleep. Forget.
What happened yesterday? I don't even know.
Right, but we take in so much information, we have to be able to forget. And memory consolidation, which happens when we sleep.
Is that why I can't ever find my keys?
Protect.
I just keep my memory consolidates and they're not important, so I don't know where they go.
You need to have a better system. But when you have the endocannabinoid system working well, you are eating and digesting well, you're sleeping well, you're relaxed, you're forgetting what you need to and remembering what you need to, and you're protecting. Your immune system works well. And that's what the ECS does. And when we...
So you can get all that from smoking weed?
Well...
Wow.
No.
Yeah, let's talk about the difference between like how that system is fed, because there's a very big difference. Right. The question that I get a lot, well, I don't understand how I smoked weed my whole life and I still have cancer.
Right.
Well,
how do you explain that?
I can explain it.
Okay.
Here's the deal. When you decarboxylate the plant by smoking it, you lose 70% of it as medicine, because you're breaking the molecular structure of the plant when you inhale it. So you only get 30%. And by the time it breaks your blood-brain barrier, you're getting maybe 10% THC. You're getting maybe 10% of the medicine.
What's a better way?
Well, the better way is, of course, through a sublingual tincture and or a FETCO oil. And FETCO means fully extracted cannabis oil, because, and I'm going to tell you why. This is the best way to feed this system, because the entire molecular structure of the plant is intact in a FETCO, a fully extracted cannabis oil, as opposed to, you know, split apart. So when you ingest it, you get the entire thing in your system.
I am a big proponent for ethanol extraction because I love how it just stays in one vessel, and it's never even apart from each other. The cannabinoids, the terpenoids, the flavonoids, everything is
together.
Right there.
Like a good party at a frat house. Yeah. Everyone just kind of hangs out together. That's why we like to extract through alcohol.
Or a functional family, which you've never heard of.
Alcohol and functional family? I don't know. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah. Yeah, but keeping them together. And when we supplement that way, sublingually, which is the way that I prefer to take.
So what does sublingual mean? It means that it's going underneath your tongue.
Okay. You can also do it buccally. You can get it in between your cheek and gums.
Buccally.
Buccal.
Buccal.
Right? But
who made up that word? Why is that a word?
I don't know. Somebody in medicine a long time ago. So sublingual, basically hold it in your mouth for at least a minute before you swallow. So whatever this medicine, you can get it in a tincture. You can squeeze out a drop of oil and get it in the mouth, but let it sit in there for at least a minute before you swallow.
Because it's breaking the blood-brain barrier at that point.
Well, it's getting into the bloodstream right here, and then it goes whoop, right in.
Yeah. That's what
and cannabinoids do cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yes, they do.
So back to the pharmaceutical allopathic side of me.
There we go.
Right?
You need a hat with a red thing on it, cross.
A little arrow.
I'm going to get you one.
Because of how special these are, they're trying to now load them up with other things that they need to get into the brain. Now imagine if we could help not only protect nerve cells from dying, but also strengthen dopamine signals for people that have Parkinson's. There are all kinds of ways that
and this is as an herbalist. Exactly. So as an herbalist, it's really exciting for me to be able to use, because cannabis is a conductor. It synthesizes other plants. Like we make a product called Fire Kitty that has 5 other herbs in it, and when we add the cannabinoid profile to it through the plant structure, not adding oil in, we actually put actual cannabis in with the product and cook it down. It synthesizes the other herbs. So when I'm formulating something for Parkinson's or some other issue, I can look to the herb family and see how cannabis, and I'm seeing that with other people who are manufacturing products. There's a lot more of that multi-leveled herbal blends coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you supplement, you want to be able to supplement to the max, and that is.
And you want to ride that blood-brain barrier into the ECS so it can go throughout the body and feed all of the receptors.
Because supplementation is our key to protecting our well-being.
Supplementation.
But the plant molecules. So these plant molecules. Let's go back to the locks and the keys.
Okay.
So our locks are the CB1 and CB2 receptor. THC actually mimics anandamide and 2-AG.
Which means nothing to anybody.
The crazy,
what does that mean, Elisabeth?
The crazy thing, so we talked about these endocannabinoids.
Right, let's talk about it.
And I'm going to show another slide. Okay. So if we could advance a slide, we're going to talk about what they do like in real life. Okay, here. So this is courtesy of Leafly. So check this out.
Wow, look how beautiful it is.
Look at that right there.
This is a great place to go. Leafly,
yep.
we believe in
There's
them.
So much good information.
So much great information. Yeah. It's all vetted.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good source.
Okay.
But so on the top left here, we have the Goldilocks zone. This is when everything's at homeostasis and the neurons are communicating effectively. On the top right, we have excessive firing. So now imagine you've got a little kid that's having a seizure.
Or me having a fit because my shirt is wrong.
Okay, well, it's not quite the same way. Because this is like a wide open calcium ion channel, and perhaps it's triggering too much glutamate, which causes neurotoxicity or a really excited brain. And so it's not working right. And so imagine if neuron A is sending too much to neuron B, and neuron B is not able to tell neuron A to turn it down. That's what happens when you have an ECS deficiency. You have miscommunication. And so we've got one way.
So would you say that a lot of children that are born on the spectrum are born with an ECS deficiency?
Probably. Right. Yeah. And so what happens, the endocannabinoids need to be released from neuron B to travel back, retrograde, to neuron A and adjust the flow so that we can get back to homeostasis. Now imagine if that kid is not having the endocannabinoid system working, that is going to manifest as a seizure, and it could be one of these kids that has 100 a day. Right? So what happens when you put CBD, which mimics our endocannabinoids, into the mouth of a child having a seizure? That seizure stops.
It stops them.
Because the phytocannabinoids are fulfilling the purpose of the endocannabinoids not working. So not only does it mop it up.
So it's supplementation and repair at the same time.
Yeah, it supplements it for that moment, but it also encourages the body to produce more of its own endocannabinoids to be able to function better. So as time goes on, you can be less and less reliant on the CBD. But in the meantime...
And I like to tell people that about cannabis, like good quality cannabis medicine, the more you use it, the less you need it.
Right.
You know, I say that all the time to my clients. You know, you start with a lot and then you go down less. It's the only thing, like you ramp up and then you plateau and then you need more. But as you fix the issue, you can go back down. So it truly is a bell curve.
And this is what, you know, I tell people that it can be palliative to help to reduce symptoms, but it can also be potentially curative.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to be very careful what we say because the FDA is the big evil person. Okay, so this is a really, thank you, Elisabeth. I really love that. And you can see it on leafy.com. You can also see it right here. We're going to drop in links to all of this by the end of the show. You can just come back through the feed and see those things. So just before we move on, before we were starting, you were saying that our lovely commander-in-chief, you think, is going to make cannabis legal so he can win the presidential election.
2020.
You think, huh?
Right. So I do think that our president, Donald Trump, not everybody's president, but enough, right? Yeah. So in 2019, I believe he's going to legalize federally medical marijuana. Probably never,
do you
ever
think this will be
recreational.
after he creates a state of emergency and locks us all down? Do you think that what he's going to do to control the masses of America is just hand out joints?
No, but he's going to make it allowable for everybody across the whole country to have access to good quality medicinal CBD and THC in low doses. And coming from insurance, you know, my 20 years, I want this covered because, you know,
I don't think that's going to happen.
We can give a permission slip to people, but we also have to provide financing for this as medicine, because I believe in my heart of hearts that this is medicine. Don't you believe it's medicine? I
do, and I'm very afraid of the allopathic role model of taking it as medicine and creating it in a pharmaceutical family and model and destroying it. Very afraid.
Okay.
I don't want to see that. And that's exactly where the conversation is going. And the more government we get in the conversation, the more of that we're going to get. And we're going to have just more synthetically made cannabis.
Okay, well,
which doesn't feed the system and the body won't absorb it.
If Trump makes it legal federally, people should be able to have the right to grow their own.
Right. So I think we should say if Trump isn't impeached or resigns before 2020, then maybe this might happen. But first, we'll see. I don't think so. But
well, the State of the Union is tonight. It's one of America's favorite drinking games.
Yeah.
so probably going to be way more exciting than the Super Bowl on Sunday.
So is there another? Do you have one more? I think
there is one more of these.
Yeah, let's have one more because I love the endocannabinoid system. It's really such a fascinating system, and it feeds our body in so many more ways.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so the next slide, right? So the next slide, you know, really talks about Trump, right?
Right.
Yeah. So in the Goldilocks zone, our immune cells are on patrol, everything's working well. But over here we have the introduction of bacteria. Now the body has to mount an assault whenever there's bacteria or a trauma or a toxin.
Because there's no wall built in the body.
There's no wall, right? So the bacteria are roaming free, the immune cells come in and they start doing their job, but what if they're excessive? What if they think that the problem's bigger than it is and they just keep coming and they keep coming and they keep coming? You know what they call that? Inflammation. Inflammation is what happens, right? And so let's just say this is my shoulder, your knee, somebody's hip, whatever.
So people don't understand that when they feel inflammation, it's literally in the cell system of the body.
Right.
It's not like externally happening. It's happening in your cells.
Yeah, it's in the cells and in the joint cavities.
Right, and it's like expanding.
So like as somebody that has rheumatoid arthritis, it starts to just build up and build up and build up because this immune system keeps going and it lays down more and more tracks when it doesn't need to. So what CBD does in this case, where you have an excessive immune response when you don't need it, is it plays traffic cops. So if you put the endocannabinoid release here, essentially, imagine you've got an accident in an intersection. The traffic cops get there, they get the people in the emergency vehicles, then they get the cars out of the way that have been smashed, and then they clean up the intersection, restore it, and open it again, right? That's what the endocannabinoids do. And the phytocannabinoids, especially CBD, when it gets into an inflammatory response, it is the traffic cop that's going to repatrol and open the scene again. So now, imagine you've had inflammation for years in a joint cavity, like my shoulder. Now I'm starting to move that again, right? Because why? Because a lot of CBD over the past couple of years.
So that's it. So like, let's stop there for a second. So a lot of CBD over a couple of years. So people think that this is like, oh, it's cannabis. It's the new buzzword. I just take it once and poof, I'm healed. It's not like that. We have to restore the system, and depending on how depleted you are, depends on how much and how long you need to use it for.
Correct.
In conjunction with the rest of your life.
With the other healthy living
things. With the other healthy living things.
Right?
Like, you can't be chugging down a 6-pack of beer, eating a pizza, doing some CBD, and expect to be getting some change.
Right. Yeah, no, the inflammatory process took years to build up, and it's going to take some time to ease
deplete.
down.
Exactly.
And CBD dosing especially is cumulative. Now, with THC, if you take THC and you have a puff off a vape pen or a joint, you're going to feel that right away, because it's going to go right into the CB1 receptors.
And that's because it's breaking the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
So immediately.
But it's also right there penetrating those
into
receptors and going, la, la, la.
Reefer madness.
And so you know that that's working. CBD is much more subtle.
Right.
CBD is something that you need
restorative.
To constantly dose every day and have a cumulative effect. And one of the keys that I use for patients to determine whether or not this is effective, tell them to stop taking their CBD for a week.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh, I absolutely need my CBD back, because they realize that it was working.
Right.
They might not feel they can't perceive how great the benefit has been until you start to remove that. And then they're like, I need my CBD back.
Isn't that true of everything? Like, oh, you won't miss me until I'm gone kind of thing. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. You're not going to miss me until I'm gone. How are we doing on time?
Great. Yeah. And then there's one more slide.
Oh, there's one more.
There's one more slide.
I love that about you, Elisabeth.
No,
the knowledge just springs forth constant. Oh, wow. That's like, oh my God. You made this, right?
I did not make this. This is from Trends in
This
Pharmacological
is how I see
Sciences.
your brain.
Right, and this is the potential, right? And this is not necessarily where we are today in the practical life lab, but this is what's happening in the lab. So this industry is sort of in two different segments: the scientists that are studying all of this, and the people that are working in the industry on the practical application of this. So at some point, these two worlds are going to merge, and we're really going to understand this, because there's so much potential.
So if you are if you are in our client family, all right, you have an opportunity to opt in to a research study about these things and how the products that we're manufacturing are helping your system. So we really encourage you guys to do that if you're part of the Firebird family, to be part of our research team.
That's awesome.
And give them some
knowledge. How do they get into the research?
There's a link. It says, "Would you like to be?" You get the opportunity to join. I think it's on your site as well.
So sign up for the newsletter. Probably.
Yeah, sign up for the newsletter.
So
the direct link. So let's talk about, like, this is very like, wow, oh my God. I mean, look at the big giant CBD part, and then there's all the little guys underneath it. So this is where we start getting into the conversation of pulling apart the plant and isolating singular molecules, which I'm not a big fan of.
But if we go back to Raphael Mechoulam, he's professor of medicinal chemistry at Hebrew University, and this is what he would be doing. So he wants to say, okay, what pathways in the body does CBD take, and what is it potentially able to do? Do you know that CBD activates the 5-HT pathways? And
do you know
what does that mean?
And what are those? Exactly.
What are 5-HT? That's the precursor to serotonin. Serotonin is a feel-good hormone, a neurotransmitter that you make. And
that people really will go looking for. Like, if you try to do a serotonin feed for a rat, it will go back and back and back and back to get that feel-good feeling.
Right, and so serotonin is basically our antidepressant. It's also an anxiolytic or an anti-anxiety. So when I think about the pharmaceuticals that you can replace by having CBD, you could replace Xanax or Ativan and some of the meds that I see people taking because they're anxious. You can also replace the...
So on that note, all of you who are on Ativan and
Xanax
and all of those other things, like this is where a cannabis nurse would come in like exponentially, okay? There's a lot of armchair doctors in the cannabis industry right now, and there's a lot of people on just Facebook who are talking about how they know what's up and what's going on. And here's the deal. When you are on a pharmaceutical, you are in a chemical compound that is working with the homeostasis of your body. Some of those drugs you have to be wound down from them.
Right.
You gotta wean. You got to wean. You can have serious side effects. So this is not something that if you don't know how to do that, you should be encouraging people to do. Right. You know, this is one of those like wake up and die right, motherfucker moment. Do not tell people to stop taking their meds because you make CBD or you make THC and we're showing you, look, it's going to help create serotonin. Hey man, you don't need Xanax.
Well, over time you might not.
You might not, but that's for a doctor or a nurse to say, not from, you know, whoever down the street who's been, you know, extracting some good stuff in his garage. I'm sure he's got a lot of knowledge or she's got a lot of knowledge, but if you do not have that medical background, if you are not educated and you are not licensed, please do not put yourself at risk, first and foremost, and don't be telling people what to do.
Well, this is exactly why I started Holistic Caring, so that I could walk people through this and have a sane conversation and looking at both sides of the treatment plan. What medicines are you on? You start everything with an assessment, right?
Right.
From the assessment, you develop a plan, and then you help them implement that plan. They get the medicines, and then you evaluate that plan. And the reason why we would want to know that is because not, like, you know, the other thing is that cannabis plays nicely with almost everything, but there are some things that it does not play nicely with. Does not play nicely with. So there are medicines that you absolutely need to be cautious with.
Right.
Some anticonvulsants, anti-epileptic drugs. So kids especially that are taking medicine for seizures. People that are on Coumadin, blood thinners.
Blood thinners.
Blood thinners are a big one because cannabinoids can thin out the blood a little bit too, right? And so when you couple cannabis with Coumadin, you can have an issue. So any of these drugs where you're getting blood levels because you want to make sure that you're not getting toxic. Some of the other drugs that are really hard on the liver and kidneys that you're getting levels for, you want to check those as well. Because what happens is that CBD goes into the body, but it needs to come out of the body too, right?
Right.
So you have an excretion pathway, and there's enzymes that break everything down.
That means your system is pooping.
Sometimes,
in
right?
The cell system.
So through urine and feces, and so basically these are excreted the same way. And if you have medicines that need to go out the body as well, sometimes CBD can hog the exit, which means that the drugs can build up and become more toxic.
Exactly.
So you have to know, and when we sit down with people, we go through what they're taking it for. A lot of times people don't even need the drugs they're taking.
Oh my gosh,
and that's
so
the
many
crazy
times
thing.
people, I have these conversations with people and they give me their laundry list and I'm like, yeah, you don't need this. You know, you don't need this. And so cannabis is not a blanket cure of all things. It's a great tool in the toolbox. It's one of the best ones we have.
But back to this, the anxiolytic component of activating 5-HT pathways, the other thing is that CBD can do that, but it also helps us keep anandamide in our system more because it inhibits the breakdown of the enzyme.
So we're more blissful.
Right, yeah. So we can feel good and be less anxious. So even just a hemp CBD, which I know, you know, a lot of people have access to in America, that even that can help anxiety.
Right, because it's an awesome antioxidant and it's stimulating the ECS for sure. Yeah, so it's not curative.
No, it's not the best medicine.
Well, it's not nothing. No, we can't even use the word curative. So it's not. It's just great. You know, it's great. Antioxidants are great. It's a supplement.
It's a supplement. Yeah,
exactly.
People ask me, is this a drug or a supplement? And I said that depends on how you use it.
Right, exactly, and it depends on how it's created because not everything is created equally.
That's
true.
So
what else is important on this? Like, let's talk about, this is the buzzword, CBG. This is the one that I keep hearing about.
CBG is a bone stimulant, right?
Okay, now, so is it part of the CBD molecule, or is it its own little, like its own thing?
It's its own phytocannabinoid. Yeah, these are all separate cannabinoids.
Do all of these, they all feed the ECS,
They all stimulate those receptors. Yep.
So and this
they
is
work together.
So this is like osteoporosis.
Osteoporosis, CBC too.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine CBD, CBC, CBG for
And this is
menopausal women.
This is called the entourage effect.
The entourage effect.
When you have all of them in there, and this is what we want. This is what we want. So when I extract and I'm doing my things, I want to see everybody. I want to see my whole panel. Now I can raise and lower things like CBG or CBN or THC or THCA by
because you grow the plant to accentuate different things.
And also the temperature of extraction makes a difference as well.
Yeah,
so more than the plant, the temperature and the way that it's extracted, you know what, I'm going to say this live to everybody who's listening. I extracted El Chapo's weed. I did. It's true. It's a true story. 20 pounds of it, man. I ran 20 pounds of...
You got the lab tests?
I had the lab tests on it. I'm going to tell you about it. It was the color of dirt. When I put alcohol on it, it turned brown. I was like, oh, this is the grossest, like, I can't even. It smelled like death, okay? But I was like, I'm going to do it. I ran it all the way through the system. It came out like black tar. It was so high in CBG and CBN. It was only 20% THC, but it was almost 50% CBG and like 25% CBN.
That would have been sedating.
And I fed it to some of the children that we had that had brain cancer, and it was the most effective medicine.
Wow.
And it gave 3 families 6 months to a year longer with their children that were under 5. So
That's amazing.
There's no such thing as bad cannabis. It's just, you have to know how to deal with it. And it all has medicine inside of it. So, you know, the darker the weed, the higher the CBN and CBG, you know.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So don't come. He's like, oh my God, he's up for sentencing, but he has a Netflix show.
Go figure.
Like I don't understand my life. Where's my Netflix show?
Well, it's up here somewhere.
Right? I don't really want a Netflix show.
So, for some reason, anti-diabetic just popped out to me.
Oh,
so
okay,
imagine
great.
that.
Okay,
so let's
talk about
diabetes.
We're so excited about diabetes.
Right.
Oh my gosh, because nobody needs to be type 2 diabetes.
No. So here's the thing. Your body can work better on your metabolism of glucose and to create insulin and have the insulin sensitivity get into the cells. So in other words, you might be making insulin, and your insulin is what helps convert glucose into energy, right?
Right.
And so what happens if you're making insulin and you've got a lot of glucose, but they're not matching up and they're not converting that into energy? You're getting high blood sugar levels, right?
Right,
and
that's
you're
what
just type 2 diabetics
bigger and
is.
bigger. Yeah, exactly.
So CBD is something that will actually help improve the insulin sensitivity and help it convert and make energy out of the food that you're eating rather than just stuff it on you.
Right,
so,
and that's one of those things, like I said earlier, where you start using a CBD product and you just naturally begin to eat better and you naturally lose weight because you're happier about your life.
So going back to those fat stoners that, you know, like some of these people that you were talking about earlier, right? Like
fat stoners.
It's a myth. It's a myth that the stoners are all going to just, you know, not be healthy because this medicine, whether you inhale it or you take it sublingually, which is my preferred route, then
you eat it or shove it up your butt.
Yep.
Because you can do all of it.
You can do, or you rub it on.
Rub it on.
Every single night I get Fire Kitty oil on me.
Your whole body.
So,
you're just a tongue.
Right, but this is medicine, and it will actually help improve your metabolism.
Right.
But one more slide. I have one more thing because this converts into this.
Wow!
Okay.
Look at how clean it got.
So,
now we're back to the little squares, and that's what happens when you go through a chaotic journey. You end up back in a nice little square.
That's the story of my life. So cannabis accentuates the ability to do these other things.
Like yoga. I'd love to get really stoned and go to a hot yoga class and try and stand up.
Your movement, so stretching, strengthening, yoga, so walking, all of this becomes easier when you don't hurt so much.
Right, exactly.
When you can eat anti-inflammatory food, just bone up on veggies and eat them mindfully. I swear to God, it's a fun thing to have a little bit of a THC tincture and eat some beets. Eat a salad, little by
If you're a really lonely person and you have nothing else going on, I highly recommend that you get some THC tincture and you eat some beets.
Well, here's the thing. When you sit there and mindfully eat your salad, you can eat the spinach.
Okay, let's talk about what mindfully means. Okay, because a lot of people don't even know what that means.
Mindfulness is when you have focused attention.
And you are aware of your surroundings.
But you tune into this. So you have laser focused attention. So when I kind of like let go of all the extraneous or surface stuff that's going on, I can get into my breath, and and eating mindfully is a very pleasurable thing to do.
It is, and most people are just shoving food down their throat in front of a television or in a car. So when you actually like take a moment, maybe say a prayer, be grateful for the food in front of you.
Always gratitude.
Drink some water, and you spend some time with that food. It opens your entire receptive system and allows you to nurture you.
And the senses come alive.
Right.
That's the other thing, because cannabis can accentuate your senses. So now when you're sitting there, I don't like salads. Okay, have a little bit of that tincture, and 10 minutes later, I want you to sit there and eat that salad, little bite by bite, and really taste that flavor, the texture, the smell, the aroma, everything, the sight, the different colors. It's very, and that's what.
And if you're having a hard time with diet, because a lot of people, it's really easy to talk about like how you should not do these things, right? But if you just make one simple change in your life a day, like you just give up this lovely Coke. Don't drink, if you drink 4 or 5 of them a day, drink 3, drink 2, drink 1, and then all of a sudden you don't need it. So
this is my quarterly Coke.
I know, it's okay.
Seriously, I never have a Coke, but I was a little tired, so I grabbed one.
I know, that's why I made you do the
But
Coke
yeah,
body
so eating and having a sense of God, whatever that is to you, breathing, meditation, sensuality, connection, bonding with others, and feeling part of the whole. This is really important. Where people feel excluded and isolated, we're trying to move people into community, open up your eyes, and get into your heart space, which you do through meditation and connection with others, because this is why we're here, to find joy and to find togetherness.
We are here seeking knowledge.
And to be able to have balance in your work life and speaking up for yourself, defending your boundaries. For some reason, cannabinoids give you a better leg up on doing this. And then entertainment. Find some healthy, fun ways to go out. Take a hike. Find your tribe. And I believe that cannabis can help us do all of these things. So going from the busy science
and
slide,
the way that it helps us is that it creates, again, space in our brain. It allows us to let go of that inhibition, that anxiety that, you know, will stop us from doing something or relieve the pain. You know, if, like you said, if you're in a lot of pain, you don't want to get up and go for a hike.
Right.
You know, if your feet hurt or your legs hurt or your back is killing you, you don't want to do that. And so if you cannot use CBD or THC because you're going to be drug tested, because a lot of the people in the world have that problem, use it topically, because it doesn't cross the liver and you won't fail a drug test.
Yeah, it's not absorbed into the bloodstream.
Yeah, exactly. You can use it, you can do anything topically. Anything.
But yeah, so the physiological homeostasis happens on the inside. This is life homeostasis. So that, you know,
so this type of lifestyle gives you that internal, you know, that internal calm.
But you're talking about naturally boosting the ECS. This is what I tell all my clients at Holistic Caring to do, to work on these things. That's your life ECS. And then we'll get the medicines that are really great quality lab tested medicines to fix the inside ECS, right? So you got to merge them.
And sometimes if you can't get here, like, because this is like, you know, if you have a really toxic lifestyle and you've been in corporate America for, you know, 25 years and you don't know how to like flip out into something new, again,
small changes,
little tiny thing,
little
tiny thing. And if you can't walk around your living room. And, you know, you can always forward fold. That's it. Just bend at the waist, because as soon as you bend over, you have to, like, your breath stops and you have to breathe in a different way. And as soon as you do that, your brain begins to open up. And as soon as you get oxygen into your brain, you begin to think differently.
Okay.
So that's mostly what we're here to do, is to get you to think differently. You know, like we say, wake up and die right over at Firebird Touch Therapy, because Grandma Ramiro, you know, that was her statement. She would say it all the time. Oh, you just need to wake up and die right. And what that meant was, you know, life is happening all around you. And the way that you die right is that you assume authority and take responsibility for the situations of your life, because nobody is doing anything to you. And no matter what is going on in your life, it's just what's happening. It's not who you are. So you need to be, we all need to be mindful that the situations of our life are just what's happening to us, and how we approach them and what we do with those situations. That's what makes our life.
I heard something last week that really woke me up. Imagine if something is not happening to you, but it's happening for you.
Right. That's a
so
mind
imagine
spin, yeah.
imagine that shift in thinking. So this horrible thing, this path that I'm on, all of these difficulty and struggles, they're not happening to me. They're happening for me to get my attention, to make some changes, and allow, or maybe let go and just go with something rather than continuing to fight.
Right. So that moves us out of victim. Right.
Yeah.
We're no longer the victim, and we're empowered by that, and we realize that the creator, however you call it, is maybe ending relationships to open new relationships, and maybe we get sick because we need to learn how to be more like this, or put ourselves on the list. Be accountable to ourselves,
and taking the responsibility, but also realizing that everything's happening for our higher good,
highest and best,
our highest and best intentions, and so it's not happening to you; it's happening for you.
Exactly, I love that. Are there any questions that we should address before we go?
To know if you rub topical oil on your thyroid, CBD oil on your thyroid, would that be helpful?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
And then, is it true that if you use a carrier oil to dissolve FeCO in, it'll help break the blood barrier?
Okay, so that's about fat. So if you use a fat to break down FeCO, will it absorb faster? I don't know. Yeah, no, maybe.
Well, cannabinoids are lipophilic.
Yeah.
So anytime you
what
have
does lipophilic mean? That's another big word, Elizabeth. Can you
lipophilic means fat loving, and so
fat
cannabinoids, the
That's
actual
why they love
molecules.
me, because there's so much of me. I am lipophilic. That's what I'm going to call myself from now on. Lipophilic.
Lipophilic, fat loving.
I'm going to put that on a dating site.
Yeah, when you put the cannabinoids in a fat and you ingest them, yes, they are going to absorb better. And as far as the CBD on the thyroid, I'm not
let's
sure
stop
about...
for a second. Yeah, and I'm going to talk about those two things. Okay, so being lipophilic. So when you're making things like suppositories, it's really important that they become water soluble. So in that way, for sure, you need to mix them with a fat because the colon can't absorb just the straight.
Hemisuccinate is the
Hemisuccinate. I love my friend Elisabeth and all of her $10 words. Hemisuccinate. I never even heard that word.
Well, that's what they make suppositories with to boost them into the rectal absorption.
Wow. Well, I don't even know what that is. I mean,
you don't see it much in this side of medicine.
Oh, in medicine, because in this side of medicine, this organic, natural state of medicine, we use things like a water-soluble solution that's made out of oil.
And I prefer ingestion and sublingual dosing.
Yeah, I do too, except for when you're dealing with people who need to have high levels. Why would you use a suppository, just really quickly, if you need to get high levels of cannabinoids? Because it is not a gram a day that addresses the issue. It's the cannabinoid profile, period. So if you need to get something like 300 to 500 milligrams of cannabinoids in your body, it's very hard to do sublingually. You're not going anywhere. So if you need to drive and go to work, then a rectal application is good. And the reason why I think that, okay, so let's go back to the thyroid person and topically, it has been my experience that the closer to the issue that cannabis is, the more it treats it.
Right.
So is it going to affect the system completely inside and cure? And no, it's not. But is it going to create some kind of ease of comfort and maybe open that pathway for that thyroid to get some healing? Yes.
Localized.
Localized.
So it'll work to calm things down on the local level, and who knows, that little shift might help the other cells balance
right,
out.
exactly. So it's all about little tiny baby steps. Anybody else?
Any more questions?
Copaiba. Okay, copaiba is an essential oil. It's C-O-P-A-B-A. It's a hard word to say, right? And it comes from a tree that's in South America. It is super healing. It's similar to black pepper, but it also stimulates the ECS. It actually mimics the cannabinoid profile of CBD.
Wow, I've never heard of it.
So I'm going to spell it again. C-O-P-A-I-B-A. It's an essential oil.
Any chance we might see that in Firebird products coming up?
Yeah, it's coming up for sure.
Oh, nice.
For sure, they're coming up in
Fire Kitty.
Something different. Okay,
cool.
So it's just great that way. Is there anything else you'd like to say there, Miss Smarty Pants? With why don't you tell them where they can find you? Okay, so
holisticcaring.com.
This is my friend.
So this is my company. There's 619-880-5135.
And that's all in the feed. You can catch all that.
Go to holisticcaring.com and you can read all about what we do. I've got classes coming up this Saturday on February 9th. We have training for healthcare professionals.
So that's something. Let's just stop right there. So something that Elisabeth provides to the community is healthcare training for healthcare professionals. So it's not just your average, like yokel like me. It's, well, it's actually like nurses, doctors, chiropractors, massage therapists, all of you people who are working with the public, you need to understand what this is. And Elisabeth's your girl.
Yeah, so just go to holisticcaring.com. For nurses, there are 8 hours of continuing education. So if you need CEs, give me a call or go to holisticcaring.com, click on the educational classes, and you can register for the class this coming Saturday. I've got another one March 9th, and then I'm going to be spreading out other places in the county. And if you have a classroom that you would like to offer up that we might be able to use anywhere in the county, I would like to be able to find more classes.
Elisabeth is also available for everybody all over the country. All you got to do is just dial that phone number or email this person right here, and she can help you out. If you have questions about cannabis and your specific medical conditions and you feel like you would benefit from speaking to a nurse, I highly recommend Miss Elisabeth here.
Thank you, Robin.
For
Yeah,
sure.
we do remote consultations all over the country. So if you're in Massachusetts or Montana, it doesn't matter. You can go to holisticcaring.com, make a remote Skype appointment, and I will call you at that time, and we will have a conversation about
And she
how
won't
you
be late
can make.
when she calls you. She won't be late. I promise you. She'll be on time.
we can have a conversation about how to make cannabis medicine work for you.
Right, exactly. Great. Well, thanks so much, Elisabeth, and all of you people who have been following me over the last 10 years. Again, I just really appreciate you. Everything we do at our company, Firebird Touch Therapy, is done for you. I just really appreciate all of the love, care that you send my way, that you trust my company, and we are going to continue to break, love all, serve all, but mostly break the blood-brain barrier of bullshaka and continue to bring you more truth about cannabis and more information for free that you can use functionally in your life, because the better you are, the better the planet is. If you just take care of your own circle and you love yourself, I promise you, you're going to see that reflected all the way around your circle, 360 degrees. Everybody's going to be like, why are you so beautiful? What are you doing? What's going on? And all you're going to say is, I love myself. What was that word for fat and plants? What's the fat?
Lipophilic.
I'm a lipophilic, beautiful hunk of love.
Amen.
Okay. All right.
And it's 420.
It's 420. Yes.
It's 420 right now.
Right on. Okay. Thank you guys. You can find me at firebirdtouchtherapy.com, robinswan.com. I'm on Facebook. Say hi to me, holler at me if you see me in the store. And thank you.
Woo-hoo.